What it do, what the business is. Peace and love, everybody. Happy Taco Tuesday. Happy 7-7. Happy hour for those, for some. But just joking. Um, yeah, we're gonna kind of ease into this thing, give it just a minute. Folks to show up. Let me see if I can play a little something in the background while we get into that. Peace, Sarah. Appreciate you joining. Hope all is well. I saw that. I saw she was getting that in. She was breaking it down serious last night. Be honest, we off that. We on to something else. Something different. You know what I'm saying? A very, very age old conversation. What's going on, the cosmic blue autistic? How's it going? Turn it down. See if y'all can hear me. Appreciate y'all tapping in. We'll get started in just a minute. We're gonna set the space, get the energy right, some sound therapy as an introduction. All right, all right. So appreciate y'all tapping in. We're gonna get started with this thing here. So, for those that don't know, there's been a couple of instances of note that I wanted to discuss. Not because of all the controversy surrounding them, but because of how um there seems to be a common thread, not just with these issues that came up, but with how we as the people, as a community, respond to them. And so I titled today's video "The Smartest Blank in the Room." You know what I'm saying? Because I wanted to give folks, um, a little bit of opportunity to kind of choose for themselves what did they want to fill in with the blank. Um, we had conversations around derogatory slurs and the words that we use to describe and address each other. What's going on, Tiff Tiff? How you doing? Um, And so, and continuing that conversation, I wanted to kind of fill in that blank with some options. So when we're talking about the smartest in the room, a lot of times that's used as an insult. It's not something to be celebrated when he says, "Oh, you think you the smartest in the room," or "You act like you the smartest in the room." And specifically for those that may or may not know, this label was being applied to Jaylen Brown as reasoning for why he may or may not be hard to deal with. Um, sorry, I'm always dealing with crying babies when I'm coming on live, but yeah, I just think they be turned up when they start hearing my voice. But my way around that is to kind of play a couple videos. But before we get into that, I do have a couple clips, couple videos to kind of add to the discussion. As we get into the different topics, I'll post a link for anybody that may want to come up and contribute to the conversation. Um, but yeah, when talking about the smartest in the room, it's usually seen as an insult. But for the person being accused of being the smartest in the room, I honestly feel like they're being attacked as far as their sense of self, their identity, their self-esteem. Um, and so while anyone should want to be the smartest in the room, it's rarely ever a, you know, positive thing or a compliment when somebody calls you the smartest in the room. And so usually it's an insult. And with these two people specifically, it's the insults that we've been talking about these last couple days. Specifically, shout out to Koala T Reacts, and some of the things he said related to the fallout from his interaction with Lupe Fiasco. But um, you know, I'm in alignment with that brother when he says he doesn't like to use the N word. He says he doesn't use ninja or he doesn't use the B word to describe women or men and our community. Um, and so it's a 5-letter word, but I tried to I'm always talking about how we can replace these words with more positive words, and so I left it blank. I was gonna leave it with some underscores. I'm gonna type it up in the chat. I was gonna do the N underscore ER, you know, to leave to the imagination whether or not you wanted to put in. See, it won't even let me type it. It thinks it's spam. It's weird. Yeah, how about that? Nope. It won't even let me type it. So that's why I didn't even do it. I just left it blank. But the idea was that you would just take out the middle part and leave the ER. And I wanted to leave that as like a little provocative, you know, title to see who all would engage with that, conversation. But ultimately I just decided to leave it as a blank. And you know, follow up with this question around what 5-letter word would you use to describe yourself? Would you use these slurs, derogatory terms that can sometimes be used as terms of endearment? Or would you try to use a word that is more positive and more associated with divinity? Because I guarantee you, behind closed doors, there was a lot of people filling in this blank with these slurs. When they're talking about Jaylen Brown, I can definitely see, if not, you know, the white executives calling him the smartest ninja in the room, definitely some of his teammates, right, wrong, or indifferent. Black, white, yellow, blue, brown. I'm pretty sure he's heard it, to his face, and he's heard about it, from behind his back. And the same goes for India Arie. Whenever, like, and we're gonna get into it, but when she brought up her thoughts around the Young Miami spin that discussion, she wasn't really trying to put nobody down. She was literally just challenging us and society to think differently about the world around us and the things we're exposed to and the things take in for yourself, whether it's through food or through media, music, movies, video games, all those things. They play a part, and to act like it doesn't affect you is, you're ignoring the facts of the situation. So, um, as you can see, I did a little bit of an inverted pyramid, and I'm gonna probably talk a little bit more about, you know, my style, my design. I don't know if some of y'all have picked up on it, but I do incorporate, a little bit of sacred geometry, a little bit of comedic sciences, a lot of spirituality in my content. But yeah, I'll probably break a lot of those symbols down at some point. But with that inverted pyramid, I wanted to symbolize a way that we can reduce some of these terms down to one term or one idea that we can use to move forward. And I can't remember. Apologies to whoever I was chatting with earlier in Koala T's chat. But they had mentioned how they like to, they wanted to incorporate negus to replace the N word. And I've always talked about using netter as an option to replace the N word. And specifically, negus is related to royalty. It's an Ethiopian term for royalty. And Kendrick, describes that eloquently in one of his projects. The It was actually the album version of when he went into the interlude at the end of the song, and he talked about negus and the Ethiopian term for royalty, and how those ideas were kind of corrupted when we kind of adopted the N word. Now that's like a loose correlation. I don't think there's any scientific or research to back that up, that the N word came from negus. But just as culturally, we like to change things and create new things. Um, we can definitely do the same for this N word. Netter, to me, um, is more aligned with what I think we should strive for with these terms that we're using, and we can use them in the same way. It could, still be terms of endearment. It could still be jokes. Even if you want to put somebody down, if you want to call them a fuck netter, like Lupe tried to call Koala, it carries a little bit of a different connotation. You know what I'm saying? There isn't a racist historical undertone being spewed when a non-black person says it, or not a person who's not a person of color uses that term. Um, and shout out to Tiff Tiff. You know, she says, "Y'all trying to take the fun out of me. I like trying calling my cousin a B. I'm gonna pull it up, but you know, it ain't really. This is another thing too. I'm not really against what people do behind closed doors or in the privacy of their own communities with their families. I have no. If you and your cousin use it as a term of endearment amongst yourselves, who am I to say you can't use it? My issue comes when we use it in the music, and in the movies, and within the culture publicly. When we're on podcasts or social media, we're going live and we're just using the N word this, N word that, be this, be that. It just it just doesn't look good. And I know we're striving for collective independence. We want to create this identity for ourselves that we can be proud of, that, you know, stands up for who we think we are, as well as, you know, honors our liberation, our freedom of choice to do what we want to do. Um, and I think it all kind of goes along together. Just like we have that same energy around, hey, I can say whatever I want. Yeah, you can. You should choose to say positive things or uplifting things or thought provoking things that moves the culture forward. And so um I'm gonna read this definition briefly. The word netter, also spelled netjer or ntr, because a lot of times in the comedic system they remove the vowels with a lot of their words when they spell them, and then they integrate the vowel sounds based on the context of how the word is used. But that's another discussion for another day. But appreciate everybody tapping in. What's up, Tasha? But the word netter primarily refers to an ancient Egyptian concept representing a divine force, cosmic principle, or deity. And so um when we're talking about the spiritual system of ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt, uh a lot of people get it misconstrued saying that they believed in many gods and multiple gods, and technically, that can be correct because of the word God is not an ancient African word, it's a European word. So just the thought of what a god means could be applied to these different entities, these different deities in the Kemetic spiritual system. But they believed in the oneness of God, the oneness of creation, and no one God was bigger than the universal oneness of God. You know what I'm saying? No one Neteru or Neter was more powerful or omnipresent or deserved to be put before the all encompassing creator. You know what I'm saying? And so Neter as an ancient Kemetic word meaning God or deity, and Neteru is plural for gods or deities. And so Neter is found in many ancient Kemetic words like Medu Neter, which means the word of God, and is also the ancient term for what the Greeks later um, described as hieroglyphics. And so whenever I like to use the N word, or whenever I feel like a situation arises where I could use the N word, I usually use netter. And I would love to, spark a movement or a deeper discussion around that. Maybe, collaborate with some other content creators to see what they think about that and how we can, incorporate that type of movement into the culture going forward. But I say that to say because I guarantee you, Jaylen Brown and India Arie see themselves more as a netter, as a divine aspect of creation than they do as ninjas and female dogs. You know what I'm saying? And whether or not the world sees them like that, I think it's more important that that's how they see themselves. And that's what fuels them. That's what drives them to be who they are. Jaylen Brown is a champion. Jaylen Brown is a scholar. He's a 10-year veteran in the NBA, a five-time All-Star, two-time All-NBA. When they won the championship a couple years ago, he was the Eastern Conference Finals MVP and the Finals MVP. Now, there's been a lot of confusion around why he was traded. A lot of people think it was because of his salary. He does make one of the highest salaries in the NBA, and he has a teammate that, pretty much has the exact same salary. It just um it's a little it was signed a year later. So I think he might get a little bit more because he came in later. But you know, the other Jason Tatum is the other teammate that's making this money. He's been injured. He's been hurt. And when they were kind of deciding what to do with the situation, it came out it started coming out that, there were character issues associated with Jaylen Brown. Now, I don't know about you, but I know when I'm talking about somebody's character, I want to see, what are the things that they associate themselves with. Not to say that, Jason Tatum has any less character. I didn't really do a lot of research around it. But I'm sure he's a very, upstanding young man. But from what I know about Jaylen Brown is that this brother should he deserves all the praise for his athletic accolades, but he deserves even more praise for his academic accolades and his community involvement. Um, and more than anything, him being outspoken on different issues, speaking up in different mediums, whether he's, you know, speaking for the NBA Players Association as a representative or on the I think he might have been on the leadership council. I want to say he might have been vice president of the NBPA. I know he's very active in it. But then also, he's lectured at MIT. We'll talk a little bit. We'll get into some articles in a second um, about how he was seen as he was coming into the draft. But this man's Instagram handle is FCHWPO. And I didn't notice until a few minutes ago when I was doing this research, but that stands for faith, consistency, and hard work pays off. That's some pretty powerful stuff. If anybody can decide what they want to be on Instagram, and he chose that he wants to represent a message that says faith, consistency, and hard work pays off. You know, um, with the conversation around Jaylen Brown and India Arie, we have these accusations of you think you better than everybody, and just off of that alone, it ain't even to me. It's not the fact that he thinks he's better than everybody. I'm pretty sure he believes that through faith, consistency, and hard work, these things are gonna pay off. So he's more than willing to do those things. He's more than willing to have faith. He's more than willing to be consistent and work hard. And that's why he's gotten to the places that he's gotten. You think you know everything. When people say you think you know everything, that's a cop out. It basically says, I don't want you to challenge me to think, to question, to reason with whatever situation is going on. You know? And so, as we dig a little deeper into this, uh, we're gonna go and look at some YouTube clips. How's everybody in the chat? Y'all doing good? I know my baby's in the background. I hope they're not interrupting too much, but I got this video here. Let me bring this down. And it talks about, some of the sentiments around what's going on with Jaylen Brown. Okay. And quietly, you know what? Hold on. Because I got a whole playlist that we're gonna play through. And I'm probably gonna try and do a minimal pausing, but we're gonna talk about this.
Sources tonight, two people in the league, one an executive, one a scout, say that Jaylen Brown it's a disease. He suddenly thinks he's the smartest guy in every room he's in.
Just a myth in America is an educated athlete. I don't believe anybody in America who's in business wants athletes to be educated if they intend on doing business with that athlete. And the minute that athlete becomes educated, they're somewhat offended by it.
Should I get backlash for being able to tell what y'all taught me? Y'all say, go to school, read, learn, write. I go to school, read, interpret what I read in a certain manner, go out and live my life in that manner that I read and that y'all said was cool because I'm free. But then it becomes a problem because now when I say and write a letter to the president at 32 years of age, I can't get an agent to represent me in a union that is supposed to represent us.
We talk a lot about athletes being educated, but the educated athletes, you're going to have problems. You're going to have lockouts, you're going to have boycotts, and people don't want that to happen.
Well, now tuned in to the Dark Times channel.
And so as we all know, NBA superstar, NBA champion, NBA Finals MVP, all NBA, all defensive team, Jaylen Brown was traded last week. He was traded to the Philadelphia 76ers, and it was something that we all saw coming, but nevertheless, something about it just did not feel right.
This is maybe one of the few times that I feel like I don't like it.
I don't like it, bro.
I'm gonna tell you what I don't like. I don't like how it went down. It don't feel right. You get what I'm saying? It just don't feel right.
But what the Celtics have done and continue to do, because now we're about 36 hours away from this trade. This trade happened a couple days ago, and they have still not given us good reason on why they moved on from Jaylen Brown and why they moved on from him in the way that they did.
If he is, we'll be talking this time next year. We said, look, everybody thought Brad Stevens was an idiot, and look at this. He got Paul George to play out of his mind, and they were in the NBA Finals, so they won the NBA championship. I just don't think that's going to happen. And just watching this deal from Stevens, he is the A student. It's like the A student who comes home with like a 71, and you're like, what happened? What? How did this happen to you? I just can't believe that Brad Stevens made this deal.
And by most accounts around the association, it was a trade.
And so when they're talking about Brad Stevens, that's the GM or the president of basketball operations for the Boston Celtics. He's a former coach, but he's been elevated to the front office, and he makes he makes the personnel decisions for Boston. And so, yeah, the answer, Tiff, you had a question that said, did he say he was the smartest? And no, he didn't. I don't know if he's ever said he's the smartest in the room. That's not something I don't think he would say. You know, smart people don't usually go around bragging that they're smart. What they do is defend their intelligence. You know what I'm saying? And so I do remember recently it came out that he said, well, you know, no disrespect to anybody in sports, but the bar is pretty low. You know, like I don't necessarily have to say I'm the smartest in the room, but you know, y'all know my credentials. I went to Cal Berkeley. I was a NASA fellow or intern or something like that. Like the brother's brilliant. And to accuse him of thinking he's the smartest in the room is an attack on his brilliance. But let's get back to it.
That didn't make sense for the Boston Celtics when you look at it on paper, especially considering what they got in return. And so the question becomes, why would the Boston Celtics and Brad Stevens go ahead and go through with a trade like this? Insert Colin Cowherd.
This is getting crushed. The GM, they obviously wanted Jaylen Brown out of the building. Jaylen Brown, I had two NBA sources tonight, two people in the league, one an executive, one a scout, say that Jaylen Brown it's a disease. He thinks he's the smartest guy in every room he's in.
A disease was the word he used, not me. But a disease, I think that's a very interesting word to use.
And so absolutely, disease is a very interesting choice of words. And Jaylen Brown didn't go as deep as probably as he wanted to on this, but let me go ahead and finish the job up for him. Because if you look at what a disease is, or the definition of a disease, it's an abnormal mind, and some diseases can begin in one area and spread to another part.
If anybody in America who's in business wants athletes to be educated if they intend on doing business with that athlete. And the minute that athlete becomes educated, they're somewhat offended by it. Because now an educated athlete doesn't just say, yes, our boss, and sit there. He starts to question the system. And so now when you get guys like Patrick and Alonzo and Dikembe, and I was very proud because every time they got on the car, the Georgetown guys were jumping up. But we had been arguing and fussing all the time about everything. I didn't always agree with every position that they took, even as it related to the lockout. but I was proud of the fact that now they're using their intelligence. Well, we talk a lot about athletes being educated, but the educated athlete, you're going to have problems. You're going to have lockouts, you're going to have boycotts, and people don't want that to happen.
And so a lot of people are of the mindset that the Boston Celtics wanted to go ahead and deal with what Colin Cowherd referred to as the disease before the mentality or that way of thinking had a chance to spread and infect the rest of the team.
Jaylen Brown, if you look at it, one guy goes to Duke.
But you see how they play with them words on us like that? You know what I'm saying? That his intelligence is a disease, not his ego. They could have said so much. But the fact that they said his intelligence is a disease to the organization, that directly goes with what I say. What I say, know your place. You know, we can make as much money as we want off of you, but don't you dare go thinking for yourself.
One guy went to Duke, one guy went to Cal Berkeley. Jaylen Brown is so Cal Berkeley, like Cal Berkeley should have him on banners. I mean, he is Cal Berkeley. He's counterculture. He is contrarian. Yes. You know, I'm going to do it a little differently than what you'd expect. And Jason Tatum is blue blood, corporate, mainstream Duke. So they are that. I'll tell you, Colin, I'll tell you like 2 personal interactions with both of them I've had in the last year or 2. It kind of speaks to who they are. So Jaylen Brown, there was a conference in Boston on the racial inequality gap. It had nothing to do with sports. Jaylen Brown was one of the keynote speakers. I had to moderate the conversation with Jaylen Brown. About 15 minutes before the event started, they have all these questions that I didn't have the answers to. So I said, okay, I'm going to sit down with Jaylen and kind of give him, hey, here's number 4. If you want to start thinking about it. We talked for about 30 seconds. He said, no, don't worry about it. I got it. You do? And he did. He was great. I mean, these are the things that are on his mind, these heavy things, these worldly things. Now, Jason Tatum, when Bill Simmons did his Celtic City documentary on HBO, and Brown left early. He was there for like the meet and greet, but he left early. Tatum was there the entire time, just trained on the entire thing. He wants to be Larry Bird.
Didn't hire an agent because he's smart enough to handle it himself. Comes off to me like he's a very intelligent man.
Hold on. We're not gonna breeze.
Why should he dumb him? He's a vision because
we're not gonna breeze past this because this is part of it. You know, the fact that he's going to speak at conferences on racial inequality and wealth gaps. When he's coming into the league, he's not feeding into the sports agency industry. He says, no, I can handle it myself. I think I pulled up an article where he talks about that a little bit. Yeah, we can't breeze past this. This is like a 20-something-year-old man just deciding to take his life in his own hands. Like, I'm not gonna let y'all pimp me like y'all think y'all about to do. And this is the results of that. This is the industry response.
To be Larry Bird.
Didn't hire an agent because he's smart enough to handle it himself. Comes off to me like he's a very intelligent man. Why should he dumb himself down because other people in the room think he's the smartest guy in the room? If that's how he feels, that's how he feels. And if that makes you uncomfortable, that's a you problem. That ain't got nothing to do with me. The way that I carry myself, if that makes you feel uncomfortable, that's a you problem. Why wouldn't he feel he's the smartest man in the room? Why would he walk into a room and feel like he's less than of anybody else that's in there? I don't have a problem with it. To me, they want to justify why they've done what they've done. And you can't go to Jaylen Brown, the basketball player. They're going to attack Jaylen Brown, the person now, to justify what they've done. I have no problem with him thinking he's the smartest man in the room. He may or may not be. but you should always think highly of yourself. And so if you feel uncomfortable, that's a you problem.
And Jason Tatum.
That part. If you don't walk away from anything from this live, walk away with that. You are always supposed to think highly of yourself. Knowing your place means knowing you're a child of God. Means knowing you don't have to dim your light for anybody. You have gifts and talents to offer this world. And you for damn sure better not let anybody make you feel bad for that. It's not even just the culture of the Celtics. It's Boston. You know what I'm saying? It's Boston in general. And I mean, I love sports. I love the NBA, but you know, the NFL and all of that. These corporations are modern day plantations. You know what I'm saying? And it's not just them. Amazon, Walmart, all of these businesses that pretty much run the world are nothing but modern day plantations. Because it's all about the bottom line. There are no values or morality for humanity when it comes to making money. You feel me? And Jaylen Brown, while he's not really a victim, he's making millions of dollars. You know what I'm saying? I'm not about to victimize this man. The larger point is for us to see. You know what I'm saying? How they view us. The larger point is to armor yourself with a level of confidence that can't be wavered, can't be shaken. And this brother is a perfect example of that. When I tell you I'm gonna teach my sons about this man, just because, yeah, he might not be Michael Jordan or LeBron James, but he's somebody that you should admire, somebody you should look up to, and not just because he can put a ball in a hoop. Let me get back to it. I'll talk all through this thing.
Last time I checked, I haven't seen a post saying, hey man, thanks for the time we spent. My brother always love. See you again. None of that. I ain't seen none of that. I haven't seen it from Derek White. I haven't seen it from Peyton Pritchard. Hell, even the statement that Jaylen Brown put out yesterday, he thanked the Celtic fan base, but he didn't thank the organization. He didn't thank the head coach. He didn't thank his teammates. So it got to be something there. I mean, everybody could speculate, but reading the writing on the wall, I mean, the signs and everything that is being shown tells me that, hey, man, it was something there. Not necessarily beef, but it was something that was going on in that organization.
Nobody's supporting them.
Man, they some haters. It ain't got to be that much more than that. If it ain't congratulating, it look like hating. Man, this brother here is a number 3 draft pick. So he's all around world basketball player. Tall, dark, and handsome. Am I right, ladies? I mean, I don't know nothing about that, but I'm pretty sure if the brother wanted some play, he could get some play. If my memory serves me correct, I want to say he pulled up to Summer League with not only Angel Reese, but another shawty on his arm after 2 years ago, like after they won the championship. Anybody in the chat remember that? Memory serves me correctly. He was trying to get on the USA team because Kawhi got sent home. What's up, Koala? Kawhi got sent home, and they replaced Kawhi with Jaylen Brown's teammate, Derek White. A few days after that, my brother showed up to Summer League with 2 women on his arm. You know what I'm saying? And one of them was Angel Reese. We know how much hate she be getting. But let me tell you something. Hate comes all shapes and sizes and colors. They can be your boss, they can be your coaches, your teammates. It don't matter. Only thing that matters is how you respond. Man, I'm glad Koala showed up, man. Perfect example of what you do when folks start hating. Just show gratitude, man. The hate lets you know you're doing something right. Lift somebody else up. When somebody start hating on you, see what you can do to lift somebody else up. You feel me? Can't be yes. Man, we're gonna get back to it because I got another video I wanted to show before we get into the India Arie conversation. But it's sad when you see how people view you and your success because it don't look like what they think of you or how it should be. You know what I'm saying? When Koala's doing everything he can to shed light on other people, now he's just a broke content creator because Lupe don't like him. It's manipulating the narrative, and I'm not here for it. And I hope my goal with this community is not only to spread knowledge of self, but just confidence, and not only in yourself but in each other. And we got to show people not only who we truly are, but how we should be treated. We're gonna get into that.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying? And it's like, why the fuck nobody is supporting me? Like, what did I really do outside of what your opinion may be about me? What did I really do to make y'all not really support me like that?
Right.
So therefore, I got to take this shit into my own hands and control my shit. Because the way, if I let y'all control my shit, we already see where this is at.
And so absolutely, no doubt about it. And I believe that in another day and age, another day and time, it would have been much easier to try to assassinate Jaylen Brown's character. We've seen it happen before with athletes. They get labeled troublemaker. They get called militant. They say you're difficult to deal with, hard to coach. And before you know it, your trade value has plummeted and nobody and no team wants to deal with you.
Because the consequences, people say, man, that jump shot at the White House, that cost me $50 million. 50 million, at least. Should I get backlash for being able to tell what y'all taught me? Y'all say, go to school, read, learn, write. I go to school, read, interpret what I read in a certain manner, go out and live my life in that manner that I read and that y'all said was cool because I'm free. But then it becomes a problem because now when I say and write a letter to the president at 32 years of age, I can't get an agent to represent me in a union that is supposed to represent us. Charlie Grantham, who's the head of the union at the time when I go to the White House, he tells me, Craig, we have to find an agent that a team owes a favor so they'll know that you're not a bad guy. And I quote, I'll never forget that. And I'm like, Charlie, what did I do wrong? I won 2 world championships. I got 3 consecutive three titles right now in my pocket, and I can't get a job? What did I do? I've never been fined since I've been in the league. I never missed a bus. I was player rep as a rookie. That's unheard of. I've been player rep for every team I played for. Where is the badness in that?
And so fortunately for Jaylen Brown, it's a new day and age. Athletes.
And so for those that don't know, that brother that was just speaking before that was Craig Hodges. And he was the sharpshooter on the Chicago Bulls for Michael Jordan's first three-peat. I'm a little older than some of y'all, but he was basically Steve Kerr and Klay Thompson for Michael Jordan in 91, 92, and 93 when they won that first championship. Well, this brother, in all his brilliance, decided to write a letter to the president. I want to say it was Bush at the time. Basically asking him, how does he plan to help black people, do all these different things. And so he got blackballed from the league because of that. He talked about how when no agent take him, and then if you don't have no agent, you know, a lot of times if you're not good enough, team's not gonna sign you. Luckily for Jaylen, coming out of college, he was good enough. You know, they were still curious to see, you know, what he could be. At Craig was in his 30s. You know,
I'm much
they
more
pretty much let him fall by the wayside. So I think that's all we're gonna get from that one. I got these 2 videos. I'm gonna do this one with Carmelo really quick because I actually haven't seen that one, but I wanted to get his perspective as a former player, a former star, a former superstar in the league. How does he feel about how this brother's being treated?
Breaking news, Cash.
Oh, we got some breaking news.
And even, you know, Melo ain't the best example of like a mentor or somebody we should look to for advice. But you know, I remember him having, you know, certain moments where he exemplifies a little bit of, you know, knowledge of self, a little bit different perspective than the status quo. So let's tap in with Melo and what he got going on. Everybody, can y'all hear it all right? It's not too loud, is it? Just let me know in the chat. And again, thank y'all for tapping in. I'm gonna after these videos, I'm gonna bring somebody up if somebody wants to come up, okay? And have a little chit chat real quick.
No, Jaylen Brown. Hold on, Jaylen Brown for Paul George and 2 firsts. We said 2 firsts and 2 second-round picks. Jaylen Brown is out. The Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum era is over. Paul George is
honestly, that's the one time that this is maybe one of the few times that I feel like I don't like it.
I don't like it, bro.
I'm gonna tell you what I don't like. I don't like how it went down. You get what I'm saying? But like in Boston. Like I just don't like how it don't feel right. You get what I'm saying? It just don't feel right. Like
what part of it?
No, I'll never forget
the treatment of all of that. You get what I'm saying? Like the fact that you're 2 years removed from a championship.
Finals MVP.
First team all defense.
2 years.
Been defensive player of the year when he wasn't in it. Like it's almost led them boys back to the promised land.
By himself.
Proved to everybody he could do. I'm not just saying this about JB. I'm just saying about how quickly it moves on. This
crazy.
is 2 years. Some from a championship. That's why I said it doesn't feel right.
Smell right.
It doesn't feel right.
Like here's the thing that gets me is like from a person who's a media person, and you hear that they're in the Giannis sweepstakes. In theory, we can all understand that somebody like that gets on the market. You want to see what it takes to get them. No, I'm with you, Melo.
I'm let you speak.
You at least put a call in because you never know. You could go for the low, and you don't want your rival to get them. You know what I mean? In the name of winning. So you figure out whatever it is. The thing to me is once you make the decision that I'm willing to trade one of my franchise pillars, you have to do it.
Yeah.
So once he's out there, and we know he's out there, you've embarrassed this player to a large degree.
Yeah.
What I've done for you don't count. All right, cool, it's business. We can roll with that. But you can't dangle me out there, pull me back, and then have me sitting and waiting for days and weeks and let nothing.
I think that's a cop-out. What's going on, everybody? Diego, Sarah, appreciate y'all tapping in. I think that's a cop-out. Because honestly, you could have traded Jason Tatum. Anybody that's familiar with the situation, if you want to come up and talk about that, why didn't they trade Jason Tatum? Jaylen Brown's the finals MVP. You know what I'm saying? Jaylen Brown is the one who's played, I want to say, the most games and scored the most minutes. Scored the most points since he came in the league. A lot of that can be contributed to having Jason Tatum as a teammate. But when it was all on the line in the finals, we all saw who stepped up the most. So what reason does Boston have to trade Jaylen Brown instead of Jason Tatum? Jason Tatum makes more money. So essentially, he's more of a value as a trade asset. to me, that part of it means it's not a basketball decision. So if anybody wants to tap in, I'm about to post up this share link. Y'all can come up. We can talk about it.
Speculate on why you not rocking with him.
This whole thing.
That's the jacked up part about the game. Is
I'm
the
with
game.
you. I'm with you.
You know what I mean?
I'm with you. You too, Mello. Like this whole thing smells funny. I'll never forget the episode. I think we had 2 Chainz here. We had an episode. We shot some post game stuff, and I think it was right before Jason Tatum was about to come back. And you said something along the lines of like, "Yo, Tatum should probably work his way back because JB cooking right now. Like, you know, they're moving really good. You know what I'm saying? The whole Drew Hanlon thing happens. He responds, all this type of shit. And I'll never forget that because I was like, they traded Simons, they traded Boot, they traded all these guys that worked well with Jaylen Brown to acquiesce to Tatum. And I'll never forget Tatum saying, like, I didn't come back to not be Jason Tatum. And now a couple months later, Jaylen Brown's gone. You know, he let it be known it was his favorite season. It was the season where Tatum was
blown
out there.
out of proportion.
Like, I mean, he played his ass off. Like, great.
Why
like,
would he enjoy that?
You know?
I agree. Go ahead.
So that was another thing. He got flack for saying this was his best season or his favorite season. I don't know personally what he thinks about that, but honestly, I take that to mean that he had an opportunity to lead his team to a certain level. You know, they were a pretty high seed in the playoffs, and they missed most of the season they played most of the season without Jason Tatum. And so for him to be the leader of the team, have this opportunity without his running mate and still kind of keep them, you know, to a certain standard, I think that's commendable. Only he knows how hard it was. Only his team knows all that they went through to get to that point. So why, when he wants to celebrate his accomplishments, it becomes an issue because Jason Tatum was hurt? Yeah. Ooh-wee. And I might have to do a separate video about the World Cup. Yeah, I saw that, Diego. How they I was working, so I couldn't watch it as closely as I would have liked, but I did see how Argentina came back out of nowhere. And there were a couple plays that they made some pretty questionable calls. Yeah, they disallowed that goal, and then Egypt would have went up 3-0. And I thought, man, when that happened, I thought they was up 3-0. But the minute they brought the camera back to the other side of the field and they started playing the replay, I was like, oh yeah, I knew what it was. But yeah, it's the nitpicking, you know, the pettiness, I'm gonna just critique everything you say and do to try to discredit you, so that when I make a move, you know, it's based off of your shortcomings instead of my unpopular decision.
Why would he enjoy that? It is so interesting that this trade really went down, man. Like I didn't like the way it felt like people were trying to devalue him. You know what I'm saying? Like
so
the whole analytics conversation.
Because I think what he's feeling, nobody's supporting him.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And it's like, why the fuck nobody is supporting me? Like, what did I really do outside of what your opinion may be about me? What did I really do to make y'all not really support me like that?
Right.
So therefore, I got to take this shit into my own hands and control my shit. Because the way, if I let y'all control my shit, we already see where this is at, right? I do believe that him and JT was on the same. I do believe that they spoke. I do believe that they had conversation. They had to. I mean, they had to. After that backlash that I caught from that,
yeah,
I'm out of it. I don't know shit. I'm just saying, it's cool. It's cool. I'm just saying, it's not about JT getting him out of there or Brown and JT not working together. I think it's way past that. I think it's top level. I think this is top level. This has nothing to do with Jason Tatum and JB. Those guys are very close. I think this is top level. And Boston exposed their hand. They exposed their hand. You don't go out there and dangle Jaylen Brown out there like that.
Yeah.
Like, why? And we 2 years out of this shit. Like, we fresh.
Like, this is me literally just in the moment, like, as I'm processing this. Paul George got 2 years left on his contract, and Paul is older, right? And you got 2 first-round picks, 2 seconds. I don't know if it's like protections packages or whatever. We have to see it later. I wonder if they are looking at this like, Jaylen Brown got 3 years left on his deal, making big money. Him and Tatum making the same money. He up for an extension to make $70 million that he could have signed. Maybe it was simply a financial decision that we gotta cut this salary. Paul George got 2 years left and he's older.
Yeah.
And we getting picks. Like, the problem with this is because the Celtics have said nothing.
That was about to get 60 million.
And see, that goes further into the conversation that this is all about the money. You know, no matter what you do as far as what you contribute to the team, you know, winning games, winning championships, that doesn't matter as much as my bottom line or as much as I can control you. Let me see. I had another video I wanted to get through because I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I did. Shout out to this brother. I can't remember his name on the couch to the left, but I know he's a journalist or a reporter, and I want to say he used to work with ESPN. And the media aspect of all of this has been interesting to watch. And so one thing I did want to bring up is this clip from my good sister Jamel Hill, who used to be on ESPN, and she actually got kicked off of ESPN for some of her takes and political commentary. And so she had an interesting perspective that kind of aligns with what these brothers were just talking about with the financial aspect of the trade, but it's still an aspect of the conversation. You know, like he's $40 million slave. That's a book that came out that just talks about how even though these athletes are making all of this money and they have all this fame and they have all this recognition and notoriety, they're still, you know, pieces in a system that's designed to keep them under control, to keep them, you know, bound by certain limitations. And when they move or they try to take steps to move outside of those limitations, that's when they get nixed. And so let's tap in with Jamel here real quick.
There are other factors that were possibly involved in terms of why Jaylen Brown is no longer with this the Boston Celtics. And these other factors are, let's say, a little less sexy than the idea that he was too smart, too black, and too outspoken to be with Boston anymore.
Wasn't traded because of bad blood with the team, but because the owner of the Celtics doesn't really own the Celtics. Jaylen is the latest victim of private equity in pro sports, and I promise you, it's only getting worse from here. Last year, when the Celtics sold to Bill Chisholm and his PE backers for $6.1 billion, we all kind of saw this coming. The deal was actually illegal from the jump. Here's my friend June Lee to explain.
Sixth Street puts in more money than Chisholm, a structure that violated the NBA's rules on how much private equity can own for an NBA team. Despite that, the Celtics publicly announced the sale anyway, with Chisholm.
What's going on, Sarah? Let me see if I can pull this up. Here, I'll do it here. So, just because she's asking, and you know, it's a good point, bring it up, the conversation. Jaylen Brown, he's a basketball player formerly for the Boston Celtics, who's just recently traded to the Philadelphia 76ers. And everyone, the general consensus believes it was a bad trade. And the only reason why he was moved is because he's seen as someone who's, you know, too smart for his own good. And they pretty much ran a smear campaign in the media as the trade was unfolding to try to discredit him and lower his trade value. You know, they were playing manipulative games. And so the reason why I'm bringing him up is because I'm correlating that conversation around him being too smart or, you know, the smartest in the room, the smartest netter in the room, not the N-word, but with India Arie and her comments around wanting better for ourselves as a people and wanting better for ourselves as a culture. And Jaylen Brown is a perfect example of somebody who really, like, you know, creates goals and strives to achieve different things outside of, you know, the normal status quo for athletes. Like he's very educated, and after this clip, I'm gonna talk about some of these newspaper clips I got from when he was coming into the draft. We're gonna read a couple of them. But yeah, just the idea of him, being an intelligent athlete and outspoken on certain issues, and getting pushback from that speaks to the title where he needs to know his place, know your place. So that's why we're talking about him, and then we're almost at the point where we're going to transition to the conversation around India Arie and Young Miami. So appreciate y'all tapping in with us. And I believe that link is still in the chat if anybody wants to come up. Feel free. But yeah, we're going to get back to that. Oops, sorry. To that Jamel Hill video.
Chisholm as the lead buyer. That public announcement helped Chisholm raise money from other investors, allowing him to reduce Sixth Street's percentage after the fact.
Essentially, Bill is more puppet than owner. Sixth Street has the real power, which allows him to run the standard PE playbook. Think about the Celtics like Jersey Mike's, which also sold to private equity. Over the last few years, we all noticed the subs have a little bit less meat, but they're still good enough to pop. That's the idea behind the Jaylen Brown trade. Sure, he's a superstar in the middle of his prime, but he's expensive and only getting more expensive on his next contract. Will the team be as good with Paul George? Of course not, but they'll still be competitive in the East, and the fans are still going to watch. Really, that's the saddest part. Say what you want about them, but Boston has some of the most passionate fans in the world. Watching these two groups exploit their loyalty is devastating. Perhaps the only thing more depressing is when you learn that Sixth Street also owns 10% of the Spurs. How this is legal, I have no idea, but unfortunately, we're just getting started here. PE money is flowing.
Now, see, that's another piece of it with these companies and these corporations owning multiple teams. They be playing with the gambling. I don't know if y'all see that, but how you gonna own more than one team? That should be illegal. That doesn't make any sense. But who am I?
Sports faster than ever before, and my prediction is we'll see many more of these moves over the next decade.
All right. So there's a money aspect to this, and this content creator whose name, unfortunately, I do not remember in this moment, but I know June Lee, who he cited in the piece. June Lee also used to work at ESPN just like I did, and that there is a very good money reason why the Celtics decided to get rid of Jaylen Brown. Now, Jaylen Brown currently, just so you know, he's in the middle of a 5-year, $285 million Supermax contract. And, he's guaranteed for the 26-27 season, he's going to make over $57 million. And then he's going to be eligible for an extension. So this, the piece I just showed you is absolutely correct in the sense of like, he is only going to get more expensive because he's 29 years old. Now, they traded him for Paul George. Paul George is currently on a 4-year, $212 million contract, a max deal that he signed with the 76ers. And this season, he's going to make just shy of what Jaylen Brown is going to make in $54 million. However, the final season of his contract is 27-28. So he has less time left on his contract than Jaylen Brown, which is why it was attractive to trade for him. So when you look at all the factors, this could have just as much been about money as it was about the other things, or maybe it was more about money than the other things. They get a chance to get rid of an expensive player for a less expensive player who's probably, let's be real. I mean, Paul George is a rental. He's 36. He's a rental player. And so economically, especially when you have that much private equity money in the Celtics, this is very much a private equity type of move. So I think it would be disingenuous to not count in the money factor. Those personality factors could all be true. But it's when you're weighing personality or money, you have to worry about the money part, maybe a little bit more. Now, here's the part that baffles.
And so that's what I think it is in a lot of ways, is that the money factor was the motivation for the decision. The opportunity to discredit him or, label him a certain type of way, they use that as a shield for making this money decision. And it's not right. It's not fair to Jaylen Brown. It's not fair to the Boston fans. It's not fair to basketball fans. We spend our hard-earned money on this sport that we love, and you basically operate in a way that says you don't care. Give me more money. It's not enough. Buy more tickets. Oh, I got another player coming. Buy some more jerseys. Buy some more shoes. And that's what it is. They could have made the move and not said anything. But then it would have made them look worse. Now, and there's another thing. The reasoning that they use, while it leaves a bad taste in our mouths as black people, because we see the play, pretty much everybody on that side of the table, everybody that's aligned with that type of thinking, they champion it. They were like, oh yeah, get that crazy goody two shoes, whatever, you know, get him out of here. Uppity, that's what they used to call them, uppity Negroes. Get that uppity nutter, all of that, get him out of here. And so there is like, it's a money aspect to it for sure, but the disrespect is the problem. We all know that, you know, corporations are gonna move based off of money. We understand that. But to say this man is a certain type of way because you want to maybe bring him down a couple notches, or, you know, strike fear in anyone who may try to follow in his footsteps, man, we see the play. And I just hope that, you know, our young brothers that are looking to get into the NBA and the NFL are paying attention. And so I'm not gonna spend too much time on this. I just kind of wanted to go through these quickly before we get into the India Arie conversation. So when Jaylen Brown was a freshman at Cal Berkeley, he was interviewed, and I have this article that says Cal freshman Jaylen Brown making an impression in the classroom. And so it talks about why he came to Cal. And let's start it right here. It says Mukhtar, the director of student services for Cal Athletics, took Brown aside at one point and suggested the basketball program will have its own practice gym someday. He says, I didn't come here for a practice facility, Brown told him. I've seen schools that have all that stuff. During the recruiting process, Brown, who came to Cal from Marietta, Georgia, was lured by slick facilities and palatial arenas on campuses across the country. A consistent top 5 national prospect, the 6'7" youngster had his pick of virtually any school. So why Cal? Why hasn't challenged? Why Cal, which hasn't challenged for a Final Four since 1960? And then the kid is looking for a path, Mukhtar said. He told me, I can play in the NBA, but I'm looking for something. Brown's coach at Wheeler High, the same school that sent Sharif Abdul-Rahim to Cal, said Berkeley's environment is an ideal place for that path to begin. Education's always been instilled in him from an early age by both his parents, said Doug Lipscomb, who has known Brown since he was in 8th grade. He was with a highly intelligent group of kids. They could hold a conversation about things other than basketball. Everybody likes to be around people who they can relate to. Brown seemingly relates to everyone. He gets along with his new teammates, but he also hangs out at a campus cafe whose customers are mostly professors and grad students. He studies there and eats, and people leave him alone. Let's scroll down a little bit. He really likes it around Berkeley. The atmosphere and the things that are kind of norms around there, Wallace said. He's very smart, and his way of thinking is a lot different than a lot of people. One of the things he says is that if you want to hide anything in today's society, just put it in a book. A lot of people who don't read how he feels, a lot of people don't read how he feels they should. I agree. A lot of people don't read. Said junior guard Jordan Matthews, he's a very diverse person. He's not really into things that normal freshmen are into. Say, for instance, taking a postgraduate class during his first semester in college. The class is part of a master's degree program on cultural studies of sport and education. I told him several times I didn't think it was a good idea, said Professor Derek Van Reenen, who teaches the class and has never had a freshman, athlete or not, take one of his postgraduate courses. He really was persistent. I kept saying no, but I said, if you're really serious about this, talk to the dean. So Brown, who declined a one-on-one interview request for the story, said in a recent group session with the media that advocating for himself was something he was taught by his parents and grandmother. His parents are now divorced, with his mother living in suburban Atlanta and his father in Hawaii. If we wanted something, we had to explain why we wanted it, said Brown to the group, giving an example of the time his grandmother asked him and his brother to write a paper explaining why they needed a new Xbox 360. We came up with some lame excuse like eye-hand coordination. Convincing the dean he was ready for a postgraduate course probably required a bit more finesse, but Brown got the okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the brother who was a freshman in college and decided to take postgraduate course on the cultural studies of sport and education. Come on, man. Talks about how that confidence, being able to speak up for himself, being able to collect his thoughts to present an argument, the very sign of his intelligence, came from his parents and his grandparents, saying that, if you want something, you got to explain why you want it. You can't just get what you want just because you want it. You got to convince me. And so as he's going into the draft, Cal coach Kuanzo Martin said the topic will be discussed. To his credit, he's never once said anything to me about one and done or leaving college. Never once brought it up. Those who spend time with Brown on and off the court are impressed. He's built like a grown man, and he talks like he's a 40-year-old who's running for office, said Mukhtar. Martin was a coach at Tennessee when he first began recruiting Brown as a ninth grader. He knew right away Brown had more to offer than basketball talent. Brown wanted to be known as a student. It's how he was raised to understand. I'm not just an athlete, Martin said. Lipscomb and Brown grew up with the sense of entitlement. Lipscomb said Brown grew up without the sense of entitlement that is prevalent in some high-profile athletes who are accustomed to special accommodations. Excuse me? Faith, consistency, and hard work pays off. His family's not selfish. They don't think the world revolves around their son, Lipscomb said. Most important, he listens. As teenagers, some think they know everything. He's going to work. When basketball ends for him, Martin is convinced Brown's journey will be just beginning. Now, sports is the stage to do what he needs to do to maintain his voice, Martin said. I think when it's all said and done, he'll impact the world in other ways. I know that's right. I know that's right. We got this other article from Anscape, and this brother Mark Spears is a well-known journalist. I know he does some analyst work for ESPN, but he's a great writer. And I believe this article is a little long, so I'm not gonna read all of it. But it talks about the same things. And so, how does Brown feel with the draft arriving? I wouldn't call it excited. I would say ready. I'm overly ready. I'm ready to get to the city that I get drafted by. I'm ready to dive into the culture, the community. I'm ready to get started. I'm ready, Brown told the undefeated. The 6'7", 233 pounder with a flat top instantly caught the eyes of the patrons as he walked into his beloved Pedro's Brazil Cafe wearing a custom-made FC Barcelona football jersey. A veggie rice bowl with extra cilantro and 2 mango smoothies were on his mind after his 6:30 a.m. basketball workout last week. No, this is not your typical 19-year-old. This is the kind of 19-year-old NBA draft prospect who, for instance, chooses to enter the draft without an agent. a young man who one executive said could be deemed too smart for the league. Say hello to Brown, the most interesting prospect of the 2016 NBA draft. I am who I am. Take it or leave it, Brown said. I'm not going to change my values and change my approach because someone feels uncomfortable. I am not going to be disrespectful or step on any toes, but I am going to be me. Come on now. Come on now. And that's literally what he's being persecuted for standing up for himself and taking advantage of opportunities. Hold on one second. Say hello to the people, baby.
Hello.
My little man want to ask me a question real quick. Give me 1 second. All right. Yeah, my little man want to get a little snacky snack on. You know how that is. So yeah. I think we're talking about the workouts. He says, I got an opportunity. It's time to take advantage. Brown said. The NBA assistant general manager said that Brown's high level of intelligence and inquisitive nature could intimidate some general managers and coaches. He added that he is a good kid who doesn't fit the mold of a so-called basketball player. He is an extremely intelligent kid, the NBA assistant general manager said. He took a graduate class, a school class at Cal in his freshman year. He is a person who is inquisitive about everything. Because he is so smart, it might be intimidating to some teams. He wants to know why you are doing something instead of just doing it. I don't think it's bad, but it's a form of questioning authority. It's not malicious. He just wants to know what is going on. Old school coaches don't want guys that question stuff. AKA, know your place. You know what I'm saying? It's always been, you're too smart. You're too smart to control. You're too smart to question me. You know what I'm saying? I think with this part, he just talks about his work ethic. You know, going back to his acronym for his Instagram handle: faith, consistency, and hard work pays off. And here he is talking about how he adopted Kobe Bryant's workout schedule at 19, trying to, you know, put in the hours to be great. And so him getting these awards, this recognition for his talent on the basketball field is not by chance. It's because he worked so hard at it. All right, so this is the last article before we move on to India Arie. In a terrific combine review, excuse me, let me start. The NBA draft, why teams shouldn't be afraid of Jaylen Brown's intellect. It's a shocker, but smart people can be good basketball players too. That's a crazy subtitle. That is a crazy subtitle. In a terrific combine review column from SB Nation's Paul Flannery, the subject of Jaylen Brown's a top 10 prospect out of California comes up. It turns out that Brown, at age 19, is becoming a polarizing prospect because, well, he's smart. From SB Nation, as always, teams will fall in love with certain players and the draft talent will take on added luster as we get closer to June 23rd. One of those players may be Jaylen Brown, a one-and-done prospect from Cal by way of Georgia who brings a pro body and an advanced mind. A highly touted recruit, Brown's interests at Berkeley included playing chess and taking graduate-level courses. As someone who worked with him said, he's a guy that's going to use basketball to do great things in life. I knew there was something special about Berkeley when I got there, but I was sure when I took my first class. Brown said, the stuff I took from Berkeley, I'll take with me for the rest of my life. The things I learned in those classrooms and the relationships I built with those professors was tremendous. I still have all of them on contact and in email, and they talked to me throughout this process. They're proud of me for the decision I made, so that's big. It's beyond dumb that having varied interests outside the game is thought of as a red flag, but Brown is a bit of a polarizing prospect. What some see as intellect, others view as arrogance. Ain't that about a bitch, boy? That's what, man. Come on now. What some see as intellect, others view as arrogance. It is very predictable that this is an issue. For starters, it's entirely possible that Brown has a level of arrogance. It is not uncommon for athletes to have that attribute, and in many, if not most, ways, it's an advantage they need in a hyper competitive environment. So true. But to attach Brown's intelligence to that factor is absurd. There are a number of layers to intelligence within the NBA community, and there's definitely a stigma attached in many circles. Consider the way that business professionals or analytics progressive front office personnel are regarded by former players as being disconnected from the human experience and too smart for their own good. There's still a jockish culture that surrounds the league. And you know what's crazy? They use that same analytics department to discredit him as well. They said this brother was the 7th best player on his team last year. I want to say he was an all NBA player. How is he an all NBA player and he's the 7th best player on his team, according to the analytics? You know what I'm saying? Brown having academic interests isn't a bad thing. Consider that the Spurs have an environment built on multiculturalism and a diversity of interests. Popovich talks to his players about world affairs and takes them to various restaurants to expand their horizons. The NBA isn't like college where there's a need to develop players as people, but it also means there's certainly a place for people with diverse interests. Shane Battier is an incredibly smart guy who had a long career in the NBA. There have been intelligent, well-rounded players with a perspective who never made it in the league. What really matters is whether or not Brown can play. His defense and three-point shooting should determine his draft order. Character and intangibles should factor in, but Brown's intellect, independent of his personality, should not be a detriment towards teams' interest in him. And so they were writing articles about this when he was coming in the draft 10 years ago. And now they're still writing these same statements trying to discredit him, sneak this or whatever, when he's being mentioned in trades. And so that's just foolishness, y'all. And piggybacking up on what Jamel Hill said about the money aspect of the conversation, we're going to kind of transition into India Arie with all the backlash she's been receiving for her commentary related to this Spend That record, right? And so this is India Arie we talking about. This ain't, just some regular average girl on the street. She is an award-winning singer in her own right. She's been in the music industry over 20 years. I believe 25 now at this date. And so she's speaking from a lot of experience when she talks about, the message in the music. More importantly, everything that's surrounding this song, it's a reason why it's so volatile. I don't ever hold on, let me say it like this. While there was discourse with Not Like Us, it wasn't people defending Drake for the right to be ignorant. You know what I'm saying? I think with the backlash India Arie has been receiving, it's because the conversation has become more about policing Black women instead of challenging yourself to change your perspective around the things that you take in. And so, this sister's made a song called I Am Not My Hair, brown skin, you know what I'm saying? And it's like we know from her music, from the art that she's given to the world. This her second album is called Voyage to India, meaning voyage to herself. She's on a journey to find herself. This is the person that, is making these comments. And she didn't say anything directly to anybody, nor did she say anything that could be deemed disrespectful. All she did was bring up the fact that she's tried to help people by changing their perspectives around different topics. And ultimately, she realized that, most people just don't care. And she spent a lot of energy trying to help people see things from a certain point of view that could have been placed elsewhere. And so this woman she's won Grammys. You know what I'm saying? For her talent. Everyone is talking about how, Carisha's talent is the reason why this song is getting so much recognition, because she went through a situation with the whole Diddy trial and everything that came out from that, and she was able to flip that experience and bounce back with this track, and now she's like, the hottest thing going this summer. She got old ass Trick Daddy talking about how fine she is. You know what I'm saying? When he really needed to, sit his ass down somewhere. But this India Arie is no slouch. The sister can sing. She can write beautiful songs, and her music is thought provoking. It's not just something to get lit and get drunk to and shake your ass in the club. This is something you'll share with your children to help shape them into the type of people you want them to be. And this beautiful woman is coming from that place, speaking on our current status in society. And so I'm gonna get into a couple of videos that kind of break this down. This first one is kind of like a little overview of the conversation that's been going on. And she kind of talks a little bit about her experience in the industry and working with Clive Davis and all of that stuff that kind of helped shape a lot of these views. Yeah, man. Exactly, Tasha. India Arie, she be making good music. And I know Spin That is the hot thing right now. But I promise you, we are not gonna be listening to Spin That 20 years later like we do Brown Skin. We are not gonna remember Spin That like we do I Am Not My Hair. I promise you. But yeah, let's get into it real quick. Did the sound go out? I'm not hearing it on my end. Hold on. I might have to reshare. All right, sorry about that, y'all. I don't know what it is, but last couple times I'm going live, I've been having some sound issues, where I have to close it and bring it back. So just bear with me. We're gonna get right back to it.
It's just a song. Well, if that's what you think, there are a lot of people who are saying it's just a song. Well, if that's what you think, enjoy. But what I know is that music has power. But of course, I have used that power to help some people. And I have traveled around this world twice. And I see the impact of what we export out of the Black American experience to the rest of the world. Longer story for another time. I was also in the blogs because I made comments about Clive Davis. And I said, watch what kind of stories you're going to see coming out about him. I signed my record deal when I was 22 years old. And so I learned about human nature through the lens of the music industry. So I got a full hot dose of all of it.
So India Arie just dropped a video talking about her statements regarding Young Miami's Spend That. She's clearing up exactly what she meant, and she's also doubling down. She also brings up Clive Davis and what she thinks about him and her personal experience. And she also talks about industry sabotage and people that made her career really hard.
I don't need to go into my story because people have far worse stories than me. I called my experiences with Clive Davis an irritation, and it was an irritation. But I have stories. And that's why I decided to make this video today, because the record label executive that I did that.
I wonder what kind of stories she has. And I more importantly, what stories does Young Miami have? How was India Arie treated during her career compared to how Young Miami has been treated? We all know about her escapades with Diddy and some of the salacious acts she's admitted to participating in. While that could just be, personal, intimate relationship, there is an aspect of, corporate favor in a lot of ways, to say that maybe not Diddy may not have put her up to it, but she was treated favorably by Diddy because she, acquiesced to certain things. And we all know India Arie, just off the strength of her speaking up about the things that she speaks on, she probably was treated differently. Let's get back to it.
The album Under is the one and only I did with this executive, was honored the other day at the BET Awards. I don't need to say her name. You can go find her name. You know who she is if you watch the BET Awards. And she did things to me that were so hurtful and so offensive. And I go into that in the longer Substack video. But what really happened in that era was coercion. That's how I know what coercion is. I know a version of it because coercion is when somebody puts you, why is my rap doing this? Coercion is when somebody puts you in a situation where you have to decide if you're gonna destroy everything, destroy yourself, or do what they're telling you to do. And
hold on, we're not gonna speed past that. Miss Ashley says she turned a blind eye to things India never would, and I'm sure she suffered for it to some degree. Exactly.
you have to decide if you're gonna destroy everything, destroy yourself, or do what they're telling you to do.
Now I don't know about y'all, but that sounds like a disease to me. That sounds like a disease that's plaguing the industry, not intelligence. You know what I'm saying? Why can't nobody speak up on that? Why is the conversation about trying to police black women? Why is the conversation about, you thinking that you're the smartest person in the room? Why is it not? For some people, you have to really destroy yourself, do things you would never do in order to become successful.
And I signed to Motown under a different record label executive. So when they kicked him out, I had to stay with her. And so all the things that me and this other record label executive had planned, I had to recalibrate. And that she coerced me into things. And there's a much longer story, again, on my Substack. But the thing I want to share with you today is that Testimony Volume 1 had 2 album covers.
Ooh,
I'm going to
listen
put them
this.
here on this video. This record label executive basically said, well, you don't have to put your album out because I don't like it. She said I looked too muscular. She even used the words, it looks like Serena.
And what the fuck does that mean? Because Serena fine. Even with everything she got going on today. Serena been fine. She came in the game fine, and she's still fine. So, what does another black woman looking like Serena have to do with the success of her album? That's another thing. Like, there's so much more focus on the body and what the body should look like. That's why I'm so adamant sometimes. Like, I really be wanting to put it on my face because I know that will, help humanize me and give me a little bit more traction in these YouTube streets. But honestly, y'all don't. Not to say y'all don't deserve it, but like, I don't want how people perceive me and how I look to distract from the message. Because I'm gonna look the same regardless. I could be talking all kinds of crazy, and then if I fit your perception of what that person looks like, you're gonna be like, see, look how he looks. You know what I'm saying? But when I impart a certain level of wisdom, if I don't have a tie on or I didn't get, a lineup, people gonna be like, oh, I don't know, you look a little crazy. I can't trust what he's saying because you look a little unkept. His hair's a little nappy. you know? Side note, I love my hair being nappy. I have locks for those that know. And if it wasn't for my wife, I would have freeform locks. But she's like, nah. She basically said, if you want me to do your hair, you gonna get your hair done how I want it done. So shout out to my wife. Love you, baby. But yeah, like we're too focused on not even just the image, but like what the successful image is. And the fact that this beautiful sister, it's gorgeous, is in an industry where she's been put down for how she looks. And then that's another thing with women looking muscular. Like, that's a bad thing. Let me tell you something. Ain't no real man ever looked at no woman with muscles and just thought, oh, I don't want to talk to her because she's got too many muscles. Man, tell you something. Real brothers, real men, man, they appreciate everything about a woman's body. Muscles or not. Fupa or not. Because they know, you know what I'm saying? The power, the spirit in that woman is what matters. That's right. Lock gang. Miss Ashley in here. I love that. I love my lock. This is my second set of locks. I cut them, and I started this setup when my son was born. And so dealing with these industry executives who ain't got no talent themselves. Let's be real. They, some of them might be able to produce, some of them might be able to sing a little bit, but if they could do what India Arie is doing, they would. But no, they sit behind a desk making decisions that affect this woman's career. And then they can pick and choose how they want to move based on how they like somebody.
But I don't.
Oh, so that was the end of that. Sorry, that was real abrupt. But as you can see, it's a playlist, so it literally just went straight into the next video. And so, yeah, it was a pretty poor transition. But this video here, is by my good brother Underground AT. I did a clip of his when I did the I want to say it was my How to Decipher Poetic Justice, Seeds of Money Trees, when I was talking about Buried Alive. And so I love the way this brother does his content. He's got some great production elements in his videos. But he came out with this video earlier today on this topic, and I just thought I had to share it with you guys. So if you haven't seen it yet, tap in. If you have, let me know what y'all think. But this is just another important part of the conversation from Underground AT. So shout out to him. Y'all subscribe. I'm probably linking him in the description when the live is done. But y'all check him out when y'all can. The Underground AT.
But I don't think we should boycott. What I want is to see people understand the power of words and music and to make choices that are healthy for them. That's what I want.
Because I am a queen. I'm not the average girl from your video. My worth is not determined by the price of my clothes. No matter what I'm wearing, I will always be India Arie.
Got the hottest record in the world, not just the country. The hottest record in the world. They singing this shit in China, in Russia, Ethiopia, guys. We top flight security of the world, Craig. Shout out to Young Miami, one of the baddest, finest little shit in the game right now.
Yo, let's read between. By whose definition, homie? If you ain't standing for nothing, you're falling for anything. And right now, man, this is insane. The eloquence that was met with just this disgusting ass shit was just like, and then you're talking about this record, right? So you want to go through all these prerequisites about this record. Oh, she's the baddest, and they playing it around the world. But what about the substance? What is she saying in that song? That's what the argument is about. But somehow we turned down a couple lanes and we busted through the alleyway. Now we in the back streets. Where we at?
Look in the mirror, the only one there is me.
You bad body old, not one given how you feel about this young girl and her song. All the negative music that come out.
But why are you so offended and emotional about this shit? Had nothing to do with you. Wasn't even attacking you. I don't understand where your standpoint comes from. And immediately just attacking India Arie's body and image, and what does this have to do with anything that she was saying? Like off the just straight off the top. What the fuck? Look at your face. Look at this shit. How you gonna talk shit with this shit? You see this build? What the fuck is this build right here? Man, look at half a bag of potatoes melted on the side. You got cheese over here. I don't even know what the fuck's going on over here.
You bad body old, not one given how you feel about this young girl and her song.
Yo, I'm over here dying, bro. He with the football highlights on this man's face. I'm over it. This is too funny. My fault. I just had to say something because this is ridiculous. Why he drawing circles around whatever this man got going on? But he do look crazy. I will say that.
And that was the whole point of the conversation to begin with, was the point of the song and how those words within the song hold a certain amount of power, which is why hooks are created catchy. They want you to recite them words. They want you to feel what they're saying in them records. They want you to chant that. They want you. We don't need the children singing this shit. When's the last time you wanted your kid to go out talking about?
You guys back up.
Yeah, that's disgusting. Every adult in the room should be ashamed of themselves right there. Whoever was in there when they were singing this song, bruh. That's the disgusting part about all of this is that the kids is really like just belted it. Like they don't even know what they're talking about, but they singing it at the top of their lungs. It's crazy.
Scamming it, all that shit. No, you don't need the kids singing this shit. So for you to come out and talk about, oh, bad body, we're not even gonna go there, homie. We could see you can check your liver. Something's going on. You see these eyes, jaundice like a motherfucker. Next, something going on, Michelin, man. But that's aside from the point. I guess we can't expect much from somebody that was trying to get kids to do the same shit back in 2001. Y'all don't remember I'm a Thug? The whole fucking chorus. He had a whole damn children's chorus singing that shit.
Baby, cause I'm a thug. All day, baby, cause I'm a thug. Wouldn't change for the world. Cause I'm a thug.
Which, if you look at it in that aspect, Mr. Oh, we've been promoting music for such. Likewise, homie, pot calling the kettle black. Like, of course, there's different facets and different tiers of this shit, and everything. Everybody falls in the place where they fall in a place, or whatever the case may be. It's just hella interesting how the defenses of this song and the themes and all this shit are coming from the most ignorant, arrogant places ever. We're gonna get to booty, put him on the glass man in a second after we get done with this Trick Daddy shit.
Do I think it matters what I want for people? No. I have finally learned that it doesn't matter and that there's no amount of sacrificing my life force energy that is going to make anybody want anything better for themselves. All I can do is emanate what I emanate, stand for what I stand for, and hope that it reaches who it's meant to reach. And that's it. And that's all I'm going to do. And so my comment makes it very clear that I don't think we should boycott. My comment is tantamount to everybody doesn't want the same thing. And there are a lot of people who are saying it's just a song. Well, if that's what you think, enjoy. But what I know is that music has power. But of course, I have used that power to help some people. And I have traveled around this world twice. And I see the impact of what we export out of the Black American experience to the rest of the world. Longer story for another time. But I've seen it. So I know. And I'm telling.
And that's the part of the conversation that seems to be lost on everybody defending Young Miami's right to make the song. First of all, India Arie is not talking about boycotting the song. She's not saying anything about Young Miami. She's not even speaking about the song directly. She's talking about the culture of music in today's society at large. And she's talking about how in a racist world where, you know, people are separated based off of their skin color around the world, everywhere. And some people may not ever be exposed to Black American people outside of our music. And so when we create music like this, whether we believe it or not, whether we agree with it or not, we are shaping people's perspective around us as a people, around who we are in this world. So when we travel to different places, when we show up at the soccer game, when we go shopping at the Middle Eastern Mall, we get treated a certain type of way because of the music that we put out. It don't make it right. And I'm not saying create music so that people look at us or treat us better. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying you have a responsibility to your people, to your community, to your race. I am because we are. And if you create music that paints us in a negative light when our brothers and sisters are traveling around the world and we get treated like these characters you installed in your music. You ain't got nothing to say. All you're gonna do is defend your right to make the music. When we're reinforcing racism, we're reinforcing misogyny, we're reinforcing devaluing Black lives around the world through our music. We've made our own destruction entertaining. We celebrate the worst aspects of our experience with our heads high and our chest out, like it's the right thing to do. We defend it like can't nobody be more negative than us. And it's the people that see it like that, bro. It's really it's sick. I think my favorite movie when Denzel was playing Malcolm X and he was talking about how the slave mind identifies with the master so much that when the master says, I'm sick, the slave says, "We sick, boss?" When somebody in our community tries to point out the cancer, we put them down like they don't know what they're talking about. Let me get back to it.
Telling you what it is, but you enjoy.
You want to simply try to target a young Black female that's doing something positive that's in her bag.
Once again, back it up.
Right now. You talked about her bad when she put out certain singles. You talked about her over and over again with situations with who the nigga she was dealing with. Everything y'all get on this and there.
Golden shower. It's fun.
Yeah.
Like, when you drunk and
and they just ping all over your body.
you just pee in your butt, pee in your pussy. I don't know.
And then y'all still have sex after?
It depends. Like, you can pee on me in the shower. You can pee on me like once you come. Like, it just depends. It just depends on how the night flows.
I gotta try this out. Go to the shower.
And act like y'all life is all peaches and cream. But I know you old bad breath smell. I know you. I know you mad. I know you hosts is mad and you jealous. You look at that young fine girl on that stage rocking these clubs each and every night. Experiences these hosts. She's talking 100 single out there. You better not let these old
Eloquence to ignorance and even more ignorance, because we had the booty man, Mr. Put him on the glass yourself, come out and say some stupid shit.
But before we can continue with Uncle Luke had to say, that right there just goes to show Trick Daddy's mindset, where it's not nothing about what India Arie is talking about. It's the defense of the debauchery because Miami looked good. Let's not forget that she's paid a lot of money to look like that. So reinforcing again the idea that our natural bodies are not enough. You mean to tell me that there are young women in this world who want to grow up singing and rapping like Young Miami, getting plastic surgery like Young Miami, talking all kind of crazy on the podcast and on the mic, period. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're right. Uncle Luke is no better. But at what point do we recognize that this is all a part of a larger play for us to really look down on ourselves. When I look at Young Miami, I think about Nicki Minaj. And we all know, how she's perceived today, but it wasn't that long ago. I remember when Nicki Minaj was not only at the level Young Miami is, she was a little bit above that. And my, how the mighty have fallen. Nicki has had ample opportunity to, change the narrative around her, or, lift up certain conversations. But as we can clearly see, for her, it's about the bag. It's about the money. It's about whatever it is she's chasing. And Miami ain't no different. Let's get into Uncle Luke, see what he got to say with his punk ass.
It too.
Scott, and all music was Jew Scott and India Arie and Afrocentric, and we would be bored as fuck. It's just lyrics.
And there are a lot of people who are saying it's just a song. Well, if that's what you think, enjoy. But what I know is that music has power.
So when this girl, India Arie, or whoever the hell it is, listen, I have no problem with these Afrocentric.
Where the fuck is this Afrocentrism shit come? What does that have to do with anything, bro? You motherfuckers didn't listen to anything this woman said. It's so insane. It's crazy. Y'all motherfuckers just read clips or some shit somewhere. An article, fucking headline reading ass motherfuckers. Didn't pay attention to shit. Read 2 sentences of a book and said, I'm good. I'll get you a summary. Don't worry about it.
Type people, but they're always jumping into the conversation of wanting art to be created like they are. If everybody lived in the world of Jill Scott and all music,
he getting all the shit. He's reiterating the same point that he made already. I'm just gonna skip through to the.
I love their music. I appreciate their music. I appreciate their artistic values. But at the end of the day, why are you having a conversation about something that's considered as art?
Because simple-minded people will only focus on the aspect of the art. It has a shit to do with the art. Got jack shit. It's the message and an intention behind the message and who that message is hitting. Do I need to show this clip? Look, run the fuck clip again. You understand the convenience of the cadence? How they're rapping that shit? How nursery rhyming?
Yo, my brother is cooking right now. Ain't that right, Miss Ashley? Bro. AT, you did your big one on this one. You ain't leave no crumbs. You doing your damn thing with this one right here.
Simple that rhyme scheme is, the effect that it has on a fucking children's mind. They're sponges, bro. I know you got some kids, Mr. Fucking Band in the USA. I know you got some fucking kids, homie. You know how this shit impacts the youth. So why the fuck would you want to perpetuate and push this message out to them? It's not just art. God, these short-minded motherfuckers.
Does anybody get all upset when the man is standing up there and people are looking at the sculpture, the art sculpture, or this man with his gypsy tools out?
I'm sorry.
But then it's always us. It's always black on black crime.
You fucking serious? Are you fucking serious?
He said gypsy tools. That was funny. And that's, man, come on, Luke. This is another thing. How are you making these arguments from a ignorant place? This is my whole point, where the attack is on intellectualism. When you have brothers like Jaylen Brown and sisters like India Arie speaking up, trying to uplift us based on their perspective, whether you agree or disagree, it seems like the backlash is always ignorance. Man can't even say genitals. That shit crazy.
That's what I say about that. But then it's always us. It's always black on black crime.
You fucking serious? Are you fucking serious? Let's go back to the beginning, because I think you forgot about the part where an opinion was stated, and then we heard this.
You bad body old, not one giving how you feel about this young girl and her song. All the negative music that come out, you want to simply try to target a young black female that's doing something positive, that's in her bag.
It's always black on black crime. You never hear them talk about each other. You never hear the white women talk about the white man.
Where the fuck are we at? Where the fuck are we? We in the desert? We in the Sahara? What the fuck are we talking about? We went from Afrocentrism to it's just art. Now we went to black on black crime, and then it's the you never hear the white man talking about the white woman or vice. Shut the fuck up! Are you kidding me? Y'all hearing this shit? Am I crazy? Is it really a defense for this shit? Do I need to get the fuck out of here, bro?
You don't hear the white artist talk about another white artist. Think about it. Where is it?
So as we go back now through the bullshit, we're gonna swim back through, right? The point in the beginning was the impact on the words within the song and the power of that impact and the effect that it can have on people and what it can do in society, irregardless of the art form or not. Your favorite songs tied to emotions. You go to songs to feel good. You go to songs to feel away. You want to cry, you listen to this. You want to feel good, you listen to this. You don't want to think about nothing, you turn this on. Just as how those emotional ties in comes with the logic. You want to think more, you start to listen to this, and so on and so forth. There's different ties that we take from music, and music is so powerful in that sense. The shit that we do is crazy. Even if all the kids that sing this song don't understand what the fuck they're saying, talking about scamming and boosting and some more shit, they don't understand that now. But when they get to a certain point and they start to think about that shit, it's already embedded in their fucking head, the idea of what the hell they were singing. It's an impact. They're a sponge. That shit is powerful. It's a hook. Shit is a nursery rhyme. There's a larger scheme here that everybody is meant. The people that are in defense of this shit are missing. The intellect, they recognize it, and they see what the fucking problem is. And they're willing to call out the bullshit and talk about it. But then you still got those motherfuckers that'll back it up and just say it's art. It's an idea. Don't take it that serious. It's just a song. When these same kids are out there doing the fuck shit and complaining, and you start hearing all this, oh, you shouldn't have. Think about the impact of whatever that they was listening to or whatever moved them to that point to where they got to. And then you'll start to, oh man, this shit's really fucking shit up. It's too late. It's too fucking late. Shit's crazy out here. Love, I'll see you on the next one. It's just fucking crazy. I'll stand for India Arie. I'm 100% of support. Golly, man. Bless that woman, please.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, I don't think he had added much to it after this. He just got a nice little beat for the outro. But yeah, man. Everybody go show him some love. Underground AT. You know what I'm saying? He be making some good content. I like it. He does a lot of the lyrical breakdowns for a lot of Kendrick's music. But you know, as you can see, he kind of does a little bit of cultural commentary as well. And I like his production style. Kind of like myself, where he doesn't really show his face on camera, but he's just trying to, you know, say something with the clips and the images and how you putting all that together. So, let me see. I had one other video that I wanted to talk about. Really two. Matter of fact, I'm gonna skip to this next one. How y'all feel about BK? Y'all want to go back and look at BK's video? Let me know in the chat. In the meantime, I'm gonna skip to this one because the first part of this conversation I felt was pretty dope. And Nikki Gilbert is the former lead singer in the group Brownstone.
And then
she has some comments that they brought up here in this video. There's a little intro I'm gonna skip past, but yeah.
Support artists, support real music, support real creatives. Because, baby, the two things that we have to compete with, AI is one of them. And the other thing is ratchet ass, ghetto ass, low vibrational ass music and songs. I'm sick of them. Do I think that one song is going to turn somebody into a criminal? Absolutely not. And we're going to acknowledge music will heal you, it will inspire you. But when songs start streaming billions and billions of time, it becomes a part of our cultural conversation, right? It's not just shaping fashion and language and cultural identity. It's actually teaching people how to treat us. Music influence.
That's another part of the conversation that it's kind of getting thrown to the side. Sorry, damn. I know that was probably loud. Smacked the shit out of my mic. My fault. Nah, like how. Yes, this is a good song, but the fact that everybody's saying this is the song of the summer, it's evolved past just the song. This is a conversation. This is a part of the larger conversation. It's a part of the movement. This is a sign or a symbol of where the culture is moving towards. And it's, like I think people are like just losing sight of that. It's really sad.
Influences our emotions. Yeah. Music influences our cultural identity. Yeah. Music and social norms, right? Our attitudes and behaviors about things. Why is it that when we start talking about songs like Spin That, all of a sudden, suddenly, we taking it too seriously. We doing too much. We being too much of an auntie. I don't want to believe that as a culture, we about to start boosting and scamming. But it's already something that plagues our communities. It's already a lot of kids who don't have parents in the household because they locked up. It's a lot of young women out there and young men out there who got locked up for stealing some shit, didn't have the bail money or ability to get out of jail and ended up getting in trouble while they were there. And now they got to spend the rest of their lives in prison. I just think that there's a lot more, not that everything has to be kumbaya. And again, it's art. But Carisha has a very successful record. She's going to reap the benefits of the record. So if there's a criticism connected to it, then, got to take that too. And I get it, because honestly, I don't think that there are enough of us who care enough to really make an impact on whether or not that kind of music and those kind of songs and for God's sake, see, the Lord Sucker went all the way to the Capitol, y'all. And they told that lady to get up out of here, gave her a parental advisory sticker that don't even exist anymore. And, that was that. So if you go to the highest court in the land and they say they don't care, i.e. what I had to do with my case, then what else do you do? Maybe occasionally get on live and share with people who will listen and who get it that, it's not okay. But then, then you ostracize and alienate yourself for something that the whole world is going to be bopping to, whether you are or not. So feels a little futile to even talk about it, but I'm just a real one. And I just have to say, I'm not buying into the hype because everybody else is. Never have, never will.
Thank you, Nikki Gilbert. Welcome back. Hottest show in the galaxy. It's the Karen Hunter Show. Do we give it more hype talking about it? Drew McCaskill is here. You think deeply about things, and you're a crisis manager.
Yes.
I had a very famous sports commentator who said he's running for president tell me that it doesn't matter as long as they're talking about you. Just as long as they're talking about you. And I never ascribe to that. I think it's important how people talk about you. But
So that was that intro was from Nikki Gilbert from Brownstone. And so now I guess this is another part of the conversation from Karen Hunter and her podcast, where they're discussing the conversation around this topic. So I'm gonna let it play a little bit, and then I'll come back in before we finish up with BK's video. And I got some comments to respond to BK's video, and then we'll get out of here. All right.
you
It
know,
depends on what your level of integrity is, right? Like I feel like it depends on what your level of integrity is. It depends on how you feel about legacy. It depends on what you plan to do with said fame. If all you plan on doing with the fame and the conversation and the negative conversation, the positive conversation is use it to make more money, then it doesn't matter, right? But now if there's a modicum of integrity that you plan on keeping, if there's something that you want to have differently said about you and your legacy, then all press ain't good press. Now, look, I think that no matter how many conversations that artists have about Spin That and Carissa's song, it's only going to get more attention for her, more spins for her, more plays for her. There's no lose in this cold conversation for Carissa. You can have everybody and their mama, they former president, they former first lady, they former whatever, come and say, y'all need to do better than Spin That. That is only going to make Carissa more money. And so we can debate.
And it's all about the consumerism. Even within the song, it's just glorifying materialism and consumption. It's all about, oh, you making money from scamming and boosting? Spend that on me. Buy me a new bag. Take me out. Fly me out. And it's corrupting our values. We already just hyper materialistic as it is. Like, don't y'all see the play?
We can think piece it all we want to, but because what the goal of a song is to have more people play it. Look, there's right now online, India Arie is getting eviscerated on one side of the internet and being applauded and lauded on another side of the internet. And there's already a remix of Spin That based on with the video, with the music to India Arie's video on it on Instagram right now.
No.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh
yes.
God.
So
Okay.
listen,
Oh
there's
my God. Here's a
Because we're gonna flip some music. We're gonna find a way to make something shake. No matter how we gotta flip it, we're gonna make it flip.
Oh, Drew. Damn. Okay. I landed when Nikki said we're teaching people how to treat us. I say that all the time. You have to teach people how to treat. This is not how I want to be treated. And because
don't want to be treated like a scammer.
No. And because we live in silos in this country, I'm not even talking about outside the country, because the propaganda mill pushes it out so that we go travel to other foreign countries. And they're not even thinking, if you can afford to travel to a foreign country that costs a couple $1,000s for an airplane ticket or whatever, I'm not a person that's going to be boosting and all that. But they don't, they only see the N word, right? Because that's what we projected out. That's the danger of this, right? And because people in this country segregate, the only way that they experience blackness is through our music, mostly through our music. This doesn't represent me. It doesn't represent the vast majority of us. And that's the problem. And I don't know what to do about it. Because Nikki, I felt her frustration at the end. Is like, y'all going to do whatever. Y'all going to play it. If anything, we're going to be demonized for talking about it. The way C. Dolores Tucker, she brought her up. I talked about her yesterday. C. Dolores Tucker got her ass handed to her. And all that lady wanted to elevate a conversation about blackness. And boy, did we spin her turban around and made her
we turned it upside down. We turned that turban upside down. I mean, their whole song, their whole bars in songs about C. Dolores Tucker, right?
Yes.
And so here's the thing
that
it
rhymes with that word. So her name rhymes with stuff. So so does Hunter. Wait a minute. Okay, go ahead. Continue.
Ding, 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 ding.
Continue.
Here's part of and I'm not both sides-er, but I do, but this is what hit me in the shower this morning really hard, because I've been thinking about this ever since I listened to India Arie yesterday, and ever since I heard the remix with the video track under Spin That, which actually is also ear crack, right? Like, I think that it's really interesting how we can oftentimes have highly selective outrage about certain things, right? Like there have been decades and decades of people who we love in the culture, in the community, who we now uphold in incredible lights, who built their careers, their fame, their fortunes on the back of talking about the drug game and talking about how to make money off of drugs, how to sell drugs, Ice-T.
And so this becomes a part of the conversation where they start to say that people are using misogyny to enforce this morality standard for women. And while, I definitely agree with that, and that's not something that should take place. I also, this case doesn't necessarily apply, because at what point are we gonna get over the fact that we used to do it? And so it's okay to keep doing it. Yeah, I know we used to rap about the drug game and pimping and all this degenerate behavior. And because we did it in the past, that gives us license to continue doing it in the future. And at what point do we start challenging ourselves as a culture to not only think differently, like India Arie is asking of us, but to behave differently? There's only a few more minutes, and then I'm gonna switch it up to this BK video. But yeah, like, I'm just tired of it, because it's always about the money. It's never about doing what's right or being righteous. It's only about what I can do to be the most successful. Forget how it may bring other people down or put other people down. As long as I come up, as long as I get my bag, that's all that matters. And India Arie, all she's doing is holding us accountable, y'all. And they are coming for her because of that.
50 Cent, Ice Cube, like people who were now beloved actors and philanthropists and music producers who have schools, who have given money to schools for music programs, and they built their whole career, their entire fortune, the entirety of their personality and their fame on glorifying the drug game. And I would say that the drug game did way more against our culture, our people, how we were perceived, who gets pulled over, who gets stopped, who is in jail right now, than boosting ever will do or does.
You're right. You're right.
And the difference here, I feel like there's is it because Carisha's a woman now? We have an opportunity to say, are we more evolved? And we're
I don't think so. If Little Kim got to talk about all her stuff, and Megan got to talk about her WAP or whatever. No, I don't think it's because she's a woman. I'm struggling.
Is it because
with
it's
Carisha.
criminality?
No, I'm struggling with her because of the Puffy relationship. I'm struggling with her, yes, because there is.
A woman shouldn't have to fight the battles that a man.
No, but we only know her basically because of him.
Oh.
And while I don't necessarily agree we only know her because of him, I do agree that a woman shouldn't have to fight battles for a man. This isn't her fighting for a man's battles. This is her piss poor behavior. And she came into that relationship with Diddy, you know what I'm saying, acting a certain type of way. So we can't blame Diddy for these types of actions. We can maybe attribute some of her fame to her proximity to Diddy. But honestly, Diddy ain't got nothing to do with this song. So we can't blame Diddy. We can't blame Diddy for her choosing to follow up that his whole trial making a song about criminality. And somebody in the chat will have to tell me, but didn't she get off? Like she was being questioned, and then somehow they stopped questioning her. I want to know a little bit more about what happened with that. She continues to kind of bring up that part of the discussion with Diddy and stuff like that, but we ain't got to further get into that because honestly, BK about to do it. And so shout out to BK.
Family? Welcome back to another episode of Look.
Shout out to BK. She spends this first little bit talking about everything that's been going on the last couple of weeks. So we're gonna breeze past that. And she has been under the fire for what happened with Lupe last week in Culture United. Yeah, I'm gonna let her kind of talk and share her points of view around this discussion, and then I have a couple points to make in response, and then we'll get out of there. We'll get out of here at that point. But thanks again for everybody for tapping in. Appreciate you, Miss Ashley. You the realest. Just wanted you to know.
Now let's get into the material, child. Unless you've been living under a rock, you have heard the unofficial song of the summer, Spin That by Young Miami. And I can't lie, baby, it's a catchy tune. It was definitely on my birthday playlist. And when it came on, the entire function went the fuck up. And I don't know if any of y'all saw the BET Awards, but when Carisha came out and they were playing Spin That and the music went off and the entire crowd was going bar for bar, word for word, singing that song. And Carisha was just standing up there like, okay, I'll just let y'all sing it. Like, that was a very cool moment. You rarely have those moments too, because of a little thing I always talk about, which is the lack of monoculture. Like, we're not all watching the same things. We're not all listening to the same things. And so when you have like an organic hit like that, it's really cool to see and watch it blow up. I mean, I even saw Boots Riley use the song and Carisha as part of the promo for I Love Boosters, right? Because she's talking about boosting bitches where y'all at. You know the words. You know the words. And honestly, I thought this collaboration was really cool. I thought the song was really catchy. I definitely tap my toe when it comes on. But I did side-eye Carisha coming back outside. And I was a little on the fence about making a video because I was like, I don't want to yuck nobody yum. I don't want to be a party pooper. So I'm just going to keep it in the tuck. And then Miss India Arie enters the chat. And I'm like, wait, what is all this hustle and bustle about the song? And so I get online to see what the chatter is, and I see that Miss Arie has responded to a tweet that says, I'm calling for a boycott of Young Miami song Spin That. I believe it's degrading to our culture. At some point, we have to take seriously the power music has over our perception and the values it reinforces. This can't be the song of the summer. I'm gonna just stop right here and say, like it or not, this is the song of the summer, whether officially or unofficially. I mean, hell, just this past 4th of July weekend, I saw the boomers getting up there talking about spin that shit, knowing the dance and everything. Now, Miss India Arie enters the chat and says, I spent my entire adult life caring way too much because I finally learned that not everybody cares with a capital C, and explaining it to them is not going to make them care. Everything you listen to, see, or eat is going to influence you. So make wise choices, y'all. She goes on to say, the mass acceptance of this song itself is a crystal clear sign of the bigger problem. I finally realized that not everybody wants to get free. And it was a very rude awakening. She continues by saying, I finally realized that not everybody wants to get free. And it was a very, very, very rude awakening. Shaking my head. Because the mass acceptance of this song is a crystal clear sign of this much bigger truth. She follows up with a video that says, I never called for the boycott. And just like we read just now, the original tweet was the one that called for the boycott, or threads. I don't know which I'll be calling it on threads. But the internet ran with this. And for the past couple of days, there's been this debate between like, does this song degrade our culture? Should we be promoting this? Is this bad for Black people? What to say about the vibrations of music and the messaging in music and like the subliminals in music that kind of move people to do things. And while I agree that music is vibration and vibration is energy and that that energy is then transmuted into something. While I do think that we do get messages consciously or subconsciously from music, although I do think content is important, although I agree with all these things, I think that it is incredibly irresponsible to hang that all on Spin That by Young Miami. I think that by focusing on one song that talks about scamming and boosting and focusing on one artist that created a song about scamming and boosting, we are missing the forest for the trees. I think the way that Miss Arie phrased it is that the bigger problem is that the Black community has a culture issue, and that we glorify killing each other and scamming and boosting and stealing and committing crimes. And this is the bigger issue. Now, I don't know if that's what she intended to say, but to me, that's the subliminal message that I get from that framing. Instead of having the broader conversation of what drives someone to scam, what drives someone to boost? Like under an authoritarian regime, in a depression, recession, whatever you want to call it, with the tariffs and the inflation and the Strait of Hormuz and late stage capitalism, what do you expect people to do? I think that on one hand, this conversation falls into the trap of moralizing yet another Black woman in the hip hop space and her contributions, which is a trap we always get stuck in with the women and not with the men. And on the other hand, this conversation kind of blames individuals for how they cope under late stage capitalism and how they choose to deal with poverty, etc. Because I'm gonna keep it a buck, y'all. I don't really give a fuck about a nigga scamming and boosting when wage theft is happening. Now, I'm not going to endorse it or whatever. And I guess the argument is, well, the song endorses it. I think the song is just reality raps. It's like, I know y'all are out here scamming and boosting. Okay, well, where y'all at? Spin that shit. Y'all are in the clubs where this song is playing. Let's just speak about the reality. That's what's happening. But I think the pearl clutching and the moralizing is a bit much when you know that, yes, there are people that are gluttonous that just scam for the sake of scamming or whatever. But I think especially when you look at the place where Young Miami is from, her POV, people do these things out of desperation under a system of capitalism. Also, capitalism itself is a system of exploitation. And so like you could take the lessons that you learn being groomed under a capitalist society to say, hey, scam or be scammed, exploit or be exploited, boost or be boosted, you know? And I think those are more interesting conversations to have. I think that India's overall point of like, hey, Black people, be aware of what you eat, of what you see, of what you intake, of what you put in your body, your mind, your soul. I think that's great general advice. But I think hanging it on this song is a bit puritanical to me. It's a bit prudish to me. It's a bit pearl clutchy to me. I think the bigger conversation to be had is always white supremacy and capitalism and triangulating that and focusing in on that and not holding one person's foot to the fire for singing about something that we know is happening all around us. And also, I think it's a fun song with a catchy hook that is perfect for the summer. And that's okay. My real issue and the thing that I feel like we should really be talking about more is Carisha laundering her brand and image for a known serial abuser and predator in Diddy Combs. She played a vital role in the rehabilitation of his image and brand as Brother Love, holding that Go Poppy sign. Remember that shit? At the Hip Hop 50, I think that's what that was. They was acting bad and did the whole acting bad song, promoting DeLeon, his liquor, launching Carisha Please on Revolt, which was owned by him or controlled by him at that time. Her fun, carefree, hilarious, spunky youth livened up his old crusty ass and allowed him to enter the space again in a way that was culturally acceptable. Because it was like you had Carisha Please, you had the City Girls, you know, they had their whole period, like absolutely bringing that into the lexicon. Like he absolutely, I feel like, leached off of what she could offer brand-wise and image-wise. And she was willfully complicit in that. I mean, she stuck with him post-Cassie video and basically hit us with a, well, he never abused me tip. She allegedly ran drugs for him. She even lauded and boasted about the type of intimidation and power Diddy has over people. In this 2022 tweet, she said, if I wanted you to eat my, Diddy would have had you on your knees, ho. You a eater. Playing into, he would have, in this 2022 tweet, she said, if I wanted you to eat my, Diddy would have had you on your knees.
I don't want to be the, contrarian, but ain't that some misogyny right there? She's literally like teasing another woman, saying, I could basically get somebody to sexually assault you. I can make you do something for me because I have a connection with this man who can control you. What the hell, bruh? I'm gonna speak on it in a minute, Miss Ashley. She says, "I didn't like this take, and I don't like her take on Lupe issue either. It feels like even content creators are making excuses for entertainers' disrespectful behavior." Exactly. I'm gonna talk about it.
Ho, you a eater. Playing into the knowledge that we now have of him making people do certain things to one another under duress, under the influence, et cetera, et cetera. And last, but certainly not fucking least, she literally wrote a character statement to the judge on behalf of Diddy. So she knew full well who he was, what he was accused of, what he did, and actually had a front row seat to what he did as being a part of the operations, and chose to not only stay with him, rehabilitate his brand and image, but get what she wanted from the situation and then beg the judge for forgiveness to go easy on him. That is my biggest issue with Caresha coming back into the limelight after having a couple failed little singles here and there, and seemingly clearing the path for Diddy to come back again with this woman who is curried favor with the culture, who has literally the summer on lock with Spin That, and thus is a key part in upholding some of the most harmful parts of patriarchy. And although I think it's important to talk about your media diet and to talk about how, okay, we shouldn't be glorifying stealing or killing or robbing or whatever, I think that on that tip, the bigger conversation for me is what makes people so desperate that they do certain things under a system like capitalism, or what does a system like capitalism inspire someone to do? That's the more interesting conversation to have in that regard. But one thing that I hope really doesn't get lost, and something that I speak about a lot, is something that Bell Hooks has spoken about a lot in her books, Will to Change and Communion, that I've spoken about on this channel before, is how women can be co-conspirators with men in upholding patriarchy. Is how women can launder their image for an abuser and make him more palatable to the culture by having them on their arm. Is how we can toss out someone saying they would unalive their son if she found out they were gay, or someone that would run pink powder, allegedly, for a known serial predator just because they come out with a catchy song. And so as we want to put the weight of the world at the feet of these women in hip hop, which I think is unfair, and it just gives the mean, bitter auntie that you never wanted to be, but you.
It's so disingenuous. This ain't the way of the world. Ain't nobody saying that woman rappers are responsible for everyone. And the fact that that's the lane people are trying to take to defend this argument, it's disgusting. BK, I hope this gets back to you, because I really do support you, and I believe you're a very brilliant, well-spoken young woman. But this ain't it. This ain't it.
Somehow are. I think there are larger conversations that we could be having about how are women complicit in upholding patriarchy, and how can we call each other in as women when it comes to discussing our role in perpetuating harm and abuse. There is a lot of women that ran in Diddy's circle, that booked the girls, that, hey, it's okay, you trust me, right? Come to this party. We play a key role in that as well. And that shouldn't be lost on anybody. Who made it socially acceptable for this nigga to come out as Brother Love with a hot new thing on his arm? Who is a part of downplaying this man's crimes? And that's why I always say that the analysis is really flat when we go say, man, bad, girl, good. I support women's rights and wrongs. Slow down, Savannah. Because although it is important to point out the system that is created by and for men, and when we talk about gender hierarchy and we talk about how men have to be called to the carpet about the abuse that they perpetuate, we have to see who is on the right arm. We have to look at the first lady who stayed by the pastor who was accused of touching them kids. We have to be wary of the woman that says, well, he didn't abuse me. We have to be wary of the woman that's okay and comfortable acting bad and taking shots of De Leon with a nigga who we saw with our eyes drag and stomp and kick and degrade a young woman in 4K or 1080p, whatever you want to call it. That is the real problem with Spin That by Young Miami. That's just me. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think it should be the song of the summer? Do you like the song? Do you hate the song? Do you think that Black people have a cultural issue with morals and shit? Do you have other comments about Diddy or capitalism or the ways that women uphold the system of patriarchy? Please, please let me know in the comments below. Make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.
All right, all right.
And they're not even thinking if you could.
Sorry about that. So yeah, that was BK's commentary on Carisha and Spin That. And so she made a couple points about her questioning what would make someone so desperate to react and behave a certain type of way. And to my response, I say, just look at the careers of the women in this discussion. Look at
What's up, family?
let's look at India Arie's career. When we're talking about capitalism, you know, both of these women are in a position to make money off of their art. And ultimately, the decision on the type of art that they put out is based on, you know, what they want to do to make money. Because you can make money doing anything. You know what I'm saying? But choosing to do certain things to make money is the sign of your values or your morals and what you're willing to do. And so with India Arie, she speaks about self-image, body positivity, self-esteem, knowing she's not going to make no money or not going to make as much money. But here to to speak to your argument, BK, you have Carisha who knows, hey, I can make a catchy hook that's saying some slick shit that, you know, is provocative to get attention. So yeah, what type of system are we in where this woman has to make a decision to make money? I'm going to degrade not just myself, but my community. I'm going to spread criminality or the idea of celebrating criminality. I'm going to spread materialism. I'm going to spread the patriarchy because that is patriarchal for men to just spend money on you. That is the patriarchy as well. If a man doesn't value anything about you but how much it costs to get what he wants out of you, that's patriarchy. And so all the points you made separate from the song are still valid and associated with the song. Carisha made the song to make money. She made the song to divert from the negative self-image or the negative things that were associated with her. capitalism suggested that she had to celebrate ignorance and debauchery in order to, quote unquote, come back on the scene. And all India Arie did was speak truth to power, not just in this situation, but in general. That's exactly what she was talking about when she says, I spent a lot of my life force energy trying to make people see things differently. And I suffered because of it. My career suffered because of it. And guess what? She's under that same capitalistic system that Young Miami is. And so Miami choosing to do something to make money, knowing that she's going to make more money regardless of the consequences, is just another example of her piss poor behavior. In addition to writing a letter for Diddy as a character witness, in addition to smuggling drugs for Diddy at his parties, in addition to promoting salacious acts on a podcast in public, in addition to making disparaging remarks about her children if they were to become homosexual. In addition to not really just giving our young girls, because I have daughters now, not giving our young women a model of decency and womanhood. And so it's not lost on me that, you know, as much as BK has been getting a lot of flack from the interaction from last week, I think a lot of that is because, you know, she's young in a lot of ways. And even the arguments defending this song are really like young people arguments. The arguments that I hear lack the wisdom this conversation requires. Shout out to Glasses. Shout out to the company man. Shout out to Koala and the others that have broached this topic. I think this is a very important conversation, and that's why it's coming up. As impactful or entertaining as this song is, the conversation around this song is just as important. And so, I don't really like how everyone is attacking India Arie for really just speaking up for herself and her right to think differently. This is a comment on how we as Black people engage with accountability. And I know we've all been through a lot, you know, personally and historically. But that doesn't remove the responsibility we have for ourselves and for our people. You know, and I know that the more we continue to have these types of conversations, the more we continue to express our thoughts and our opinions, especially amongst our young people. Shout out to Miss Ashley, teaching our youth in the school system coming up in the next couple of weeks. As we continue to have these types of discussions, we have to remember our young people are watching. And if not for anything, the discourse around this topic is to challenge us to be better. I don't even really think much is to be said about the negative aspects of it. I don't even think we really got to the poorness of Miami's behavior until maybe towards the end. You know, I might be a little incorrect, a little inaccurate with that statement, but we need to focus more on the positive. We need to focus more on how we can move, how we should move, not putting anything down. Even if you don't like the song, don't focus on it. Focus on what you would like to engage with. And even after all of this, coming up on 3 hours of all the negativity we've been bombarded with over the last couple of weeks, I think it's still very important that we all are very intentional about how we do that moving forward. And so my babies is in the background. They hollering. It's bedtime, but they're struggling to go down. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. Again, thank you to everybody that came and showed some love, showed up in the chat. I really, really appreciate y'all. And like we always do, we're gonna say our family prayer of protection from minds to yours. Dua Nature, to all ancestors known and unknown, we give thanks for your guidance and protection along this journey called life. Ankh Uja Sened. Ashe.